Hello and welcome to another polymer clay jewelry video here at keepsakecrafts.net, my blog and my YouTube channel. Today we're going to be making the second in our 5-part series of Christmas charms. At the end of the series you can take all 5 of them and make them into a charm bracelet. Today we're making this really cute mitten that looks like it's been knitted. So to make this little mitten charm you will first of all, of course, need some polymer clay. You'll need 2 colors for the mitten, one main color and one for the cuff, and then a little bit of a metallic for the decoration. You'll need an extruder with a multi-hole, fine multi-hole extruding disc. You'll need this little mitten template that you can print out at my blog, or you can just draw your own. You'll need a couple of clay blades. First of all, you'll need a nice flexible clay blade, and then also a rigid clay blade. You'll need some kind of a jar lid, like a metal jar lid with a slick surface, as a tool to help us sculpt. You'll need a needle tool, some liquid clay, such as translucent liquid Sculpey, an eye pin, wire cutters, and pliers. So the first thing you need to do is take some of the clay that you're going to use for your main mitten and put it into your extruder and follow the manufacturer's directions for how to load it. We're going to use this disc. Sometimes it's called the spaghetti disc because it has all these fine holes and it comes out sort of like spaghetti. And usually that just pops right in there. That screws it on. Now if you're shopping for an extruder, you definitely want to get one of the type that has a crank handle. So you just do this and then your clay comes out. You don't want to get the type that you push with your thumb. Those are not so affectionately known as thumb breakers. And then we're just going to extrude a bunch of strands of green spaghetti. And then you can use a blade and just trim them off. Then we're going to take them in pairs and twist them. Now here's where you have to pay attention. Half need to be twisted in one direction. So you could see I'm twisting this with my thumb going away from me, so that as you look at the strand, it's going from the top left to the bottom right. And then you need to do an equal amount, probably 5 or 6 for now, that twist the other way. So you see I'm twisting in the opposite direction so that it goes from top right to bottom left. And a good idea is to make your twisted strands and try to get them all so that they're even. See, like this one has a lot more. So make them all so that they have equal spaced twists. And then I just squish the ends down on my work surface here and let them sit for a while, at least an hour. Overnight's good. That way when you go to work with them, you can see how this is untwisting on me. But if you let it sit for a while, the clay will firm up and then it won't untwist on you. And here you can see I have several strands that I did earlier and let them sit overnight actually, so they're not untwisting. Then you want to take a little bit of, again, your main color clay and just roll out a bit on a medium thin, like a number 5 setting on your pasta machine, somewhere around 1 millimeter thick. And you want to take your little mitten template, and you can find this in a PDF at my blog, and just lay it right on there. And then use a clay blade to trim, not right on it, but just trim out a rectangle around it. And now we can start laying our twists on this piece of clay. And you're going to alternate. So I take one from one pile, and then one from another pile, and just put them right next to each other, and then back and forth. And you can see as the twists meet, it looks like knitted fabric. And don't throw away this clay hanging over the edge here, because we do have a few more uses for these twists. Now I'm going to trim off the excess and then just set these aside to use for the other side of our mitten. And now I'm going to bring back my little mitten template and just gently lay it on there. Don't press it because you don't want to squish that great knitted texture. Just kind of gently tap it right on there. And I'm going to use my straight-sided clay blade to trim this bottom edge. And then this is where the curved clay blade comes in. I tried using an X-Acto knife here, and it was very difficult to get a clean cut. So a flexible clay blade is definitely helpful. You just trim out, bending the blade so that it matches the shapes. And just work at a little bit at a time until you have the whole thing trimmed. And then take off your template and see if there's some areas that need some cleaning up. You can also use your finger to kind of gently round that a little. Now, slide that up with your clay blade, place it on a piece of paper or on an index card, and bake it at the manufacturer's recommended time for 10 to 15 minutes. So here's one I did earlier, and now we're going to cover the other side. So what you'll need to apply raw clay to baked clay is some kind of liquid clay. I'm using translucent liquid Sculpey. There are other products out there, different brands. You could use Bake and Bond. And I'm just going to apply a little bit. That's plenty. Because I don't want it slippery with this stuff. I want it just enough on there to be tacky. And then we're going to repeat applying our twisted strands, again alternating. And you'll know that you've got the right ones next to each other if they make a V as they meet. If they don't make a V, then you know you've put two of the same up against each other. Now flip it over and again use your blades to trim. Still save these pieces because we'll need them for one more thing. And if you can't get in as close as you'd like, don't worry about it because we can trim these after they've baked as well. So just leave that with those square edges. We can clean those up after baking and not risk squashing our texture. So here it is out of the oven. And it's still a little warm and flexible, although you can do it when it's cooled off. You might as well make it easier on yourself. And now we can just come in with the blade and trim those extra bits that are hanging off. And refine the shape a little bit. You can also wait till it cools and sand it. The best way to do this is just don't try to take off too much at once. And now we need a little bit more of our liquid clay, and we're going to cover up these edges with some more of our twisted ropes. And again, you don't want too much on here. You don't want it slippery, but more just tacky. You certainly do want enough on there so that your ropes will stick. And now I'm just going to grab one top left to bottom right, and one going in the other direction, top right to bottom left. And just apply it, just gently pat it down all around the edge. You can just kind of bend it, tuck it into where the thumb is, and then put the other one on the other side. And now that's nice and neatly finished off. And then trim it again at the bottom and bake it again for about 10 minutes. And now we're going to finish up our little mitten charm. So take some of the color that you have chosen for the cuff of your mitten and roll out about a 1/2 inch ball. And then roll that into an 1.5 inch long snake. And then flatten it out just a bit with your fingers. Add some of your liquid clay around the top edge and the top about 1/8 inch of your mitten. And then apply this strip to the top of the mitten. This is really the same thing we did last week in making the Christmas stocking. Where they meet and overlap, pinch it off. Use your fingers to kind of smooth it out, but don't worry about it because we are going to texture it. And then you can kind of pinch that bit together at the very top. And then we're going to use our jar lid as just a holder. So press that on so that it holds onto your piece while you do the texturing. Although because we baked this, you can hold on to it. And then take your needle tool and you can just make little tiny circles, and that roughs up the clay and makes it look fluffy. And just work your way around the whole mitten band. And there, all fluffed up. I also did the top edge. Isn't that adorable? Now for some decoration, I've rolled a couple little balls of a gold metallic. So you could use any metallic you like, or really any color. And we're going to make these into a couple little jingle bells. So use a blade and just make an X on the top of the balls. Like that. And then use your needle tool to poke a hole at the end, at each end of the X. And we can kind of make that round again. And now you have a little jingle bell. Add as many little jingle bells to your mitten as you would like. And then the last step is to make a hanging loop. So take an eye pin and use wire cutters to trim it down to about 1/4 inch after the loop. Just a little tiny bit there. And then use chain nose pliers to bend that up into a hook. Just like that. And then press that into your charm, embedding the hook in the unbaked clay, and when the clay is baked, that's not going to be able to pull out. And then see how this texture's already gotten squashed just from me laying it on the table? You can just put this on a bed of batting or on a little bit of crumpled up tissue paper when you bake it, and that will make sure that you don't squash it. And there you have it. So here it is, our cute little knitted mitten. I hope that you've enjoyed this technique and that you'll give this project a try. If you like this video, please make sure to give it a like and share it with folks you think might enjoy it as well. Also, check out the other 2 videos up on the screen. You can follow me on Facebook, Pinterest, Instagram, and on my blog. Happy creating. Bye-bye.